Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So we're gonna make this cute little, I just put a small tail on this little lammy sheep guy. I put a cute little bow around his neck, but you don't have to do that. We're gonna do the bow in the video, but you don't have to do that. I just did it. This is just makeup. That's just eyeshadow that I use. I bought a makeup kit just for my guys that I make. So the main body, and then these little things, this is baby velvet. Bernat makes it. This here is an option that can be removed if you don't like it. So we put this on using a post, and then we don't attach it to the arm at all after that. So both the same for the leg. So if you do it and you're like, no, I don't like this, you can just pull this off, and then you'll just have the white leg, so, or the white arm. So this is not a permanent fixture on the sheep. I just thought I would do that just so that people had options for this little guy. So let's jump right into this. So the background I'm going to use is green because I am using this baby velvet from Bernat. It's blue. No, that's probably seems weird to you. And then this is just an off-white color. You can use white, you can use whatever color you want. I'm using just this off-white, and I'm pretty sure it's a Craft Smart. I'm using a 4mm because this is built in amigurumi, so whatever yarn you're using, whatever hook size it calls for, go down in hook size. That's how amigurumi works. You're also going to need a stitch marker because we don't slip stitch and we don't chain one. We build in a spiral, a constant spiral. So you're going to need a stitch marker, and you're going to need a row counter, or however you count rows. You don't need to have one of these, but they're really handy. It just goes on your finger, and then you crochet and you hit the button, and you know. You can get these on Amazon for a pack of 3 is like, I don't know, $5, if that. So super cheap. You can also buy some at Walmart. They're a little bit smaller, but they all have an LED. And not that a lot of people will crochet at nighttime, but you know, just in case you're sitting in the dark crocheting, you have an LED. So we're gonna do we'll just do the arms and legs and ears, and the tail for chapter 1, and then chapter 2 will be the body and the muzzle, and then putting it all together. So we'll do it easy peasy. So you're going to start with a magic ring of 6 single crochets. If you struggle with a magic ring, you can just chain 2 and then put everything into that first stitch. So like I said, we're building an amigurumi, so we're not slip stitching, we're not chaining or anything. You're going to go right into this first stitch. This round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So after the first stitch, that's where your marker goes. And then stitch number 2 can go in that same space, and continue 2 single crochets in each stitch all the way around. So you're going to end up with 12 stitches when you're done. Next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. I'm going to weave in. Now I've pulled my middle closed super duper tight. You don't have to do this because I know how awkward it can be, but I'm just going to weave in my tail at the back so it doesn't annoy me. So that's my 1 single crochet. My next stitch gets the increase, which is 2 single crochets in the same space. So repeat this all the way around, and you will have 18 stitches when you're done. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring you up to 24 stitches. That's 2 single crochets, so this always counts as number 1, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space, and repeat. For the next 4 rows, you're going to put 1 single crochet in each of these 24 stitches. And I will see you on the other side. So that's my 4 rows. That's what you should have at this point. So we're going to do a decrease, and then you're going to do 18 rows after that. So keep your stitch or your row counter handy. So the next round is going to be 1 single crochet decrease. This will bring you down to 16 stitches. That's about as big a round as I wanted the leg. So that's number 1. I'm going to do invisible decreases, so I'm going to use my front loops only. I'm going to go into my front loop, I'm going to pop around and go into my next front loop, and I'm going to pull yarn over and pull through, and then I'm going to finish the stitch. So that's my invisible decrease. So I'll do it again. So 1 single crochet and then your decrease. So front loop, yoink, front loop, yarn over, pull through, and then finish the stitch. You can do whatever decrease you're comfortable doing. Either way, you're going to do a 1 single crochet decrease all the way around, and at the end you're going to have 16 stitches. So that's my last decrease. So for the next 18 rows, you're going to have to stuff this as you go. You're going to put 1 single crochet in each of these 16 stitches. And I will see you on the other side. So this is my 18 rows. I don't move my marker, I just count. That's why that's way down there. So this should be 26 rows tall. So that's your magic ring. This is going to be your first circle. So start counting. You see the spiral? So the spiral goes around like that. Start counting here at that one. And you should have 26 rows. So you can count that way if you want to make sure that your legs are even, or just put them up against each other. So this is what it looks like without the velvet on it, and this is what it looks like with the velvet. But again, this is going to be removable. This is not a permanent fixture. Obviously, we just did the whole entire leg. So you can fasten off. I will show you how to put the velvet around first, and then I'll leave you to my pause screens to do the other leg and the other velvet, if you're doing the velvet. So you're going to need a sewing tail. This gets sewn onto the body, and so get your velvet. Make a slip knot. So we're going to reattach on the 8th row on the post. So again, don't count your magic ring, start counting here. So this is my 8th row, so I'm just going to go above that and start on my posts. Make sure I'm even with my other guy. No, it looks like I'm a little higher. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, I do have to go up one. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Doesn't matter where you start. As long as you count the same for both legs, starting from the same spot. So you're going to reattach just with a single crochet is fine. If I can get through my stitch. So just pull everything tight. This eventually is going to come back over here and get weaved in, but for now I'm just kind of taking it out of the way. So all you're going to do is go around each post and do a single crochet. So because we work in a spiral, when we come back around, we're going to be a little higher than where we started. So you're just going to go into what should be your 15th stitch. And you're just going to go diagonally. Yes, this is going to be an extra large stitch, but you won't notice it because of the velvet. So just go down diagonally, make your 15th stitch, and then we're ready to go. So this tail, I'm just going to make sure it's tight, and I'm going to weave him in as I go. We're not going into the leg the next 4 rounds. You're going to go just into the stitch. And you're going to do 4 rounds of 15 stitches. So even though this is the 16, like when we decrease, this is the 16 spot, or 16 stitches spot, we only had 15 posts, so I could have made it 16 there, but you want to go in diagonally because you got to make it look even. So anyway, for the next 4 rows, you're just going to put 1 single crochet in each stitch around. Sorry, that was my Etsy. For 15 stitches. So I'm weaving in this tail. You don't have to. You can always just kind of sew it in somewhere later. Because you're going to have all of this to weave into anyway. But that is it. Easy peasy. And then it can just be pulled out if you decide you don't like it. You can just pull it out. You know, because, you know, you may have it sitting around for a while and decide, you know, I think that looks stupid. So options. I love making videos where people have options. So anyway, just continue around making your 1 single crochet in each of your stitches, and I will see you after your 4 rows is done. So I am back around. So you should have 5 rows all together. This is where I started. You should have 5 rows all together because we did this one and then I said do 4 more. So none of this is attached. And if you wanted to keep going, you can keep going. You don't need to stop where I stopped. That's the beauty of the freedom of choice, is you can choose to keep going higher if you want. I just chose to stop here. So if you're stopping here, then you can fasten off. You just need a little bit of a weaving tail. So to make this look even, I grabbed the back loop of the next stitch and it pulled up. I did the same thing in the following stitch, and I pulled up a bit, and then I came back down, and that's when I weaved. So I weaved a couple of times. This is slippery stuff. I just weaved a couple of times in case I chose to, you know, change my mind later and take it off. I just did a couple of weaves. So that'll hold it into place if it decides to start to slip, which I don't think it will. It's not going to slip down, but you know, you never know. So I'm going to put the pattern for the leg and then the instructions for the velvet around there up on my screen, and I will see you on the other side. So this is my arm. It looks very similar to the leg, but it's not. So that's my leg. You zoom out. I mean, all four should look similar. So that's my arm. It is shorter and it's skinnier. Not by much, but this is my ear. I haven't put any pink in it yet because I'll show you that on video. So let's do the arm next. So you're going to make a magic ring of 6 single crochets. You're going to do 2 single crochets in each stitch around. No slip stitching, no chaining one. Still building an amigurumi. So after the first stitch, that's where the marker goes. And then you can put your second stitch in that same space. And continue with 2 single crochets in the same space all the way around. You should have 12 stitches when you're done. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase, and again I'm pulled my magic ring super duper closed and I'm going to weave it in, but you don't need to do this. So that's my 1 single crochet, and then the next stitch gets the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So you're just going to repeat that all the way around. You'll have 18 stitches when you're done. So that's 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets. going to cut this off since I weaved it in. For the next 3 rows, you're going to put 1 single crochet in each of these 18 stitches, and I will see you on the other side. So this is my 3 rows. So I need to get it down to the same size as the legs, which it doesn't look like it's the same size. And I actually thought it was. I thought I'd done it at, I probably did originally, but I changed the design. So we're going to do 5 single crochet decrease. We're going to do that 2 times, and then you're going to have 4 stitches left over, and that will give you 16 stitches, just like the legs. So that's number 1 with your marker. This is 5 single crochets. So the decrease I'm doing is going to be invisible again. So I'm going to go into the front loop, pop around, go into my second front loop, yarn over, pull through, finish the stitch. So I'm going to do that one more time. That's 5 single crochets and then my decrease. And then you should have 4 stitches left. So this gives you 16 stitches. So for the next 18 rows, I want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 16 stitches, just like we did with the legs, and I will see you on the other side. When you stuff your stuff, you gotta make sure it's gonna be the same size as your other stuff. Like the same roundness. And I was getting this to be fatter. This was turning out fatter, but I think I got it down. Let's fasten off, and then I'll do the same deal with the leg. I'll fasten off with my sewing tail. We will do the velvet, and then we'll whip stitch this whole, all the stuff, we'll whip stitch it closed. Then we'll get to the ear, and then that'll be the end of chapter 1 because it's already been fairly long. So make a slip knot and reattach the 7th row from the bottom. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So just go above that and grab a post. And again, I just want to make sure I'm even. No, I gotta go up one more. When I count, I'm going to assume that I count starting at my 2 single crochets in each stitch. 6, 7. Yeah. Anyway, I guess you can reattach wherever the heck you want to reattach. You don't need to do where I go. It's your project. So, reattach with a single crochet. And then we're going to do the same thing. You're going to just go around and put a single crochet on each of these posts. Then this last one over here is going to be diagonal so that you kind of shore it up, right? You kind of make it look even. And then chapter 2 is going to be doing the doll itself. So The good thing is everything will be already built. So once you're done, you can just sew it all on. So I'm just about back around, but this next one I gotta go diagonally on, so I'm gonna go into the stitch and pop out over here. I'm gonna do my diagonal stitch to make everything look even. And then for the next 4 rows, you're just gonna put 1 single crochet in each of these stitches, just like you did with the leg. I'm gonna weave in my tail here. So again, you should have 15 stitches. And I will see you on the other side. So I'm just coming to the end of mine. I'm going to go into this next stitch. I'm going to fasten off with a weaving tail. So I'm going to do the same thing as I did with my leg. I'm going to grab the front loop, pull up, and then weave. It just makes it look like it's not so uneven, because we do work in a spiral and sometimes it's kind of hard to get around that uneven look, but you can also move this around, stretch it up, or you know, whatever. So go ahead and make your second arm. I'll put the pattern for the arm on the screen as well as the instructions for this velvet part. And I will see you on the other side. So this ear is pretty super duper quick. Add some sparkle or something. It's pretty super duper quick. Oh my gosh, what is this sparkly stuff? Anyway, let's jump right into this. So get your sheep color. We're going to do a magic ring of 6 single crochets. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch. So I'm just going to count to 12. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. I'm going to use my marker here. That's 1 single crochet and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. So I'm going to snip this off, so I weaved it in. So you should have 18 stitches, and for the next 5 rows you're going to put 1 single crochet in each of these 18 stitches. And I will see you on the other side. So this is my 5 rows. So your next stitch is going to be 1 single crochet decrease. I nearly bit my tongue when I said that. Yipper. 1 single crochet with your marker. So then you jump right into your decrease. So I'm going to do invisible again, which is picking up the front loops. Front loop, pull through, finish the stitch. This will bring you down to 12 stitches. So that's my 3 rounds. So I'm going to go in and fasten off. You're going to need a sewing tail and a sewing tail. I'll explain. Get my marker out of here. So. I say that a lot. Okay. I'll try to start saying okay. So, there's no point whip stitching this shut because we're going to sew this part shut anyway. So I just want you to kind of fold this in half right there. So what you're going to do is, starting from the bottom, doesn't matter what this looks like, but try to keep it nice and polite. So we're going to sew from the bottom. I'm just doing a whip stitch, but I'm very nicely trying to do a whip stitch, but you can go in and out if it's not looking very good. It doesn't matter as long as it's sewn together. So we go up into this part and sew this part together as well. So I mean, it's up to you how far up you go, but I just do a couple of stitches up there and it makes the ear look like that. So that's how I do that. This is not necessary to make any sort of secure knot, but I always do because, like I said, I've had something fall apart on me once and drives me absolutely crazy. So I'm just going to pop out back down here because I know that's where I'm going to start sewing from. And then the pink, so I bought this little makeup kit off of Amazon. It was like, I don't know, 15 bucks. And it's actually a pretty good kit. It's very hard to open though. I struggle every time. So you get these little brushes. So you get that, and then there's a drawer that pulls out, but again, it's so difficult. I don't know why. Whoever designed this case made it so difficult. But then you get this, but I don't use that because I don't know what I would use it for, but oh look, you can see the camera. Anyway, I'm a child. So that's the color I used. And I just take my little, I mean, you can use anything you want. You can use the brush too if you want, but I'm just going to take a little bit on my brush and I just put it in the ear, and then I use my thumb to spread it around, and that is how I get the pink inside the ears. And that'll stay there, it won't come off. It's almost like it dyes to it. It really adheres nicely to the yarn. I know I've showed this in other videos, but I don't know who watches what videos, so. And there's my second ear. So that's what I do with that. And I only bought that makeup kit. I don't wear makeup, so I only bought it to do for my dolls. So, this tail, oh, I got some on my green thing. So this tail is really quick. We might as well just kind of rip it off. Then everything is literally done. And we can start building the doll in chapter 2. So I do switch to velvet partway through the tail and actually crochet it in. So you're going to start with a magic ring of 6 single crochets. I'm going to bring you back down here. I want this to be pointy, so I just did a 1 single crochet increase to start the first row. So that's my 1 single crochet. So that's where the marker goes. And then your next stitch is going to get the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat that. Oops. So I'm going to pull my middle closed. And so you should have 9 stitches. I just want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 9 stitches. And then we're going to switch to velvet. So I'm going to flip this around. So this is my 9th stitch, but I'm not going to finish it with my white color. I'm going to finish it with my velvet. I'm going to take this out so it's not in my way. So finish your 9th stitch with your velvet. Now, as you know, for safety reasons, I like to tie these 2 pieces together. But if you're not familiar with tension, I probably would not suggest doing it. That's just my magic ring thing. So I'm not going to weave anything in because I just tied those 2 together. It just makes my life a lot easier. So with my velvet, I'm going to do 2 single crochets and an increase. So I don't really need a stitch marker because I have color change. So that's 2 single crochets, and then your next stitch gets the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. So I'm not going back to my white. You can just snip your white off. So for the next 2 rows, you should have 12 stitches. For the next 2 rows, I just want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 12 stitches. So that's my 2 rows. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring it up to 15 stitches. That's number 1. That's 3 single crochets and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space, and repeat. So for the next 2 rows, I just want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 15 stitches, and then we're done. That is the tail. So this gets stuffed before it gets sewn to the body. So I'm going to go into my next stitch. I'm going to fasten off with the sewing tail. And that's what your tail should look like. Take a little bit of stuffing. Velvet's really easy to kind of overstuff, so just try not to, but make sure it has this little point down on the bottom, because their tails are actually quite weird. I actually didn't expect it. When I looked up what a sheep or a lamb's tail looked like, I was shocked that some of them actually looked like a dog's tail. Some of them were short, but there was none that were actually what I thought they were. So that's your tail. So lots to do from chapter 1, building all your second parts. So I will leave you here, and I will see you in chapter 2. Hi guys, welcome back to chapter 2 of the lamb sheep guy. So, this body is all velvet, and then this gets made separately and sewn on. So, get your velvet. It's your 4mm hook, and let's jump right into this. You're going to start with a magic ring of 6 single crochets. Your first round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch around, bringing you up to 12 stitches. Sometimes with velvet, if you're new to the velvet world, you have to kind of feel your stitches as opposed to see them. And it all depends on the color too, really. Next round is 1 single crochet and an increase. But the best part about velvet is if you make a mistake, no one's going to see it. That's 1 single crochet, and then your next stitch gets the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. And this will bring you up to 18 stitches. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. This will bring you up to 24 stitches. That's number 1. 2 single crochets, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space, and repeat. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase, and this brings you up to 30 stitches. That's number 1. That's 3 single crochets, and then your next stitch gets the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space, and repeat. Your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and an increase. We're just about to where we're going to stop. That's number 1. That's 4 single crochets, and then your next stitch gets an increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So this brings you up to 36 stitches. So you can start seeing your points. That's just all from the increasing. This is our last row of increases. We're going to do 5 single crochet and an increase. So bring you up to 42 stitches. That's as far as we're going. I can find my stitch. There we go. So 1 single crochet is our marker. So that's my 5 single crochet, and then my increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So that's what you should have at this point. If you're struggling with the baby velvet, the bigger velvet isn't any better. But if you want it to be soft, I suggest a Chanel then. It's kind of easier to work with. It's easier to see your stitches with a Chanel. Might be another option if you wanted the super softness. But I know how difficult it can be. It took a while for me to get on to, making sure I'm finding all my stitches. But once you get big like this, you can start seeing your stitches a lot better. It's just harder when it's smaller to see your stitches. But I just feel them. I take this finger and I can feel where my stitches go. But I've been crocheting for years too, so you should have 42 stitches. So for the next 8 rows, you're just going to put 1 single crochet in each of those 42 stitches. And I will see you on the other side. So this is what you should have at this point. We're going to start decreasing now. We're going to do 5 single crochets and a decrease, and this will bring you down to 36 stitches. So that's number 1. That's 5 single crochets. Even though this is velvet and it hides all your imperfections and it's great stuff, I'm still going to do invisible decreases if I can manage to get just because to me it is noticeable. So your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and a decrease, and this will bring you down to 30 stitches. That's 4 single crochets and then your increase, or your decrease. Oh my gosh, it's slippery. It is slippery to work with. So your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and a decrease. This will bring you down to 24 stitches. That's number 1 with your marker. So that's 3 single crochets and then your decrease. So that's 24 stitches. You can start to stuff this, but we're we're not closing this off. We're gonna go from, this is the head, so we're gonna go from this as small as we can, which will be 18 stitches, and then we're gonna go back. We're gonna start increasing for the body. So, ooh, that was a lot. So you can easily overstuff a velvet material. So I like to dig a hole and then fill the hole. It just helps me, so I don't, you can try it, see if it helps you. If you never overstuff, then I just don't have to worry about it. I do. I have bad overstuffing tendencies. So his eyes and everything, they go on the muzzle part. I didn't put them in the velvet part for obvious reasons. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and a decrease. And then you're going to put a round of 1 single crochet in each of what should be 18 stitches when you're done. So I'm going to put both of those rows on the screen. But that's number 1 with your marker, always number 1, number 2, and then your decrease all the way around. So this is what it should look like at this point. You can keep stuffing it kind of round your head off, but I like to pack it all down and use my hand to make it rounder. So we're going to start increasing. So I'm just trying to make it a little more rounder, packing in the stuffing. We are sewing a muzzle to this, so this does need to be generously full. So let's start increasing for the body. We're going to do 1 single crochet and an increase. This will bring it up to, oh sorry, no we're not. We're jumping right into, because I stopped at 2 single crochet decrease, we're going to 2 single crochet increase. There it is. That's number 1, that's number 2, and then the next stitch gets your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So this will bring you up to 24 stitches. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring you up to 30 stitches. That's number 1, and that's 3 single crochets, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space, and repeat. So your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and an increase. This will bring you up to 36 stitches. Your next round is going to be 5 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring you up to 42 stitches. So because it's the body, this is the size the head we did was 42, but because this is the body, we want a little bit bigger, so this will not be our last increase. So that's number 1. That's 5 single crochets, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. If I can get into the space. So this is our last increase row, and you're going to do 6 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring it up to 48 stitches, and that's where we're going to stop. So you should have 48 stitches at this point. So for the next 15 rows, you're just going to put 1 single crochet in each of these 48 stitches, and I will see you on the other side. So this is my 15 rows. So you can start stuffing this now, but I mean, not personally, I would wait. We're going to start decreasing to finish the bottom. So you can, I got to change my battery again, but so yeah, you can start stuffing it. Just make sure that your neck area here gets stuffed really well. Just don't overstuff it. Just make sure. You don't want to wobble. Yeah, my battery wasn't waiting for me to finish talking. It was just done. So, anyway, your first decrease row is going to be 6 single crochet decrease, because we ended with 6 single crochet increase. So that's number 1. That is 6 single crochets. So with velvet, it doesn't really make a huge difference whether you do invisible or not, because it is so forgiving, but I'm going to do invisible. So do this all the way around, and I will meet you on the other side. So your next round is going to be 5 single crochets and a decrease, and this will bring it down to 36 stitches. So your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and a decrease, and this will bring you down to 30 stitches. And then we're going to do 3 single crochet decrease, and then 2 single crochet decrease, and then 1 single crochet decrease. I will meet you back after 2 single crochet decrease. So the next screen, you're going to see what you're doing now, 4 single crochet decrease on your screen. Then it's going to show 3 single crochet decrease, and then 2. And then after that, I will meet you back, just to make the video shorter. So I am attempting to stuff this. It's not the easiest thing to stuff. Velvet is so easy to overstuff. So I've got one more decrease to do. We have one more decrease to do, and it's 1 single crochet decrease. But I just wanted to meet you back here for the whole stuffing part of it. So I made sure my neck, because you don't want his head to be, I mean, mine's still kind of wobbly, but if I put any more in there, his neck's going to be too big. So, but his muzzle will sit fairly low. So this is what it's kind of should be stuffed like. So our last round is 1 single crochet and a decrease. We're not going any smaller than 12 stitches to fasten off with. So to avoid all the pulling, just pull up a bit on your stitches if you don't want that pulling. So I go right into my decrease because my marker is number 1. And I'm just going to pull up when I make my stitches, because it does stretch a bit. Get under this last front loop. There we go. Alright, so we can fasten off. So you just need a cinching tail and a sewing tail, or a weaving tail, sorry. So before we cinch it, I want you to make sure all around up here is full, just so it doesn't look funny. Because when we pull it, you don't want a wrinkly backside bottom part, whatever you call it. Bottom. We're sewing stuff to it, so you kind of want to make sure that it's a solid foundation to sew something to. So if you push on it and it doesn't bounce back, you need more stuffing. But if you push on it and it comes back, you're good. Good, good, good. So I am good to go. So we're going to go in the front loop, out the front loop, just like that. All the way around. So I'm back around, or close to it anyway, so I'm going to pull. So that's what it should look like. It's nice and neat. I'm going to pop across that hole though. And I'm going to make a knot, so I'm going to go through the loopy loop. Wiggle this so it tightens that knot right down. And I like to do it a couple of times, going in the opposite direction, just for security reasons. Wiggle, wiggle, and then you can weave. Just make sure when you're weaving, you can go out between the stitches too, but just make sure you go in next door to your lead so that it just looks like a stitch. And try to go, so that's just going to look like a stitch when you pull. And try to go in 3 different directions. And there's our body of our guy. Super duper cute. So let's move on to the muzzle. So the muzzle is made with our whatever color you used for the legs and arms and ears. Mine is just a Craft Smart off-white color. I don't have labels. I got all kinds of labels sitting here. None of them are for this. So anyway, we're going to start with a magic ring of 6 single crochets. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch. So again, after the first stitch, that's when your marker goes in. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. That's 1 single crochet. I'm weaving in my tail at the back. You don't need to do that if you're not comfortable with it, or you can give it a try. So the next stitch gets my increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So repeat this all the way around for 18 stitches. So I'm going to cut my little straggler off because I weaved it all the way around. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase, and it's going to bring you up to 24 stitches. And then we're going to follow up that with the next round being 1 single crochet in each of the 24 stitches. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring you up to 30 stitches. So your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring you up to 36 stitches. And then for the next 5 rows, I want you to put 1 single crochet in each of those 36 stitches. It's number 1. That's 4 single crochets, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So repeat this all the way around, do your 5 rows, and I will see you on the other side. So this is what your 5 rows get you. So we're going to decrease and then we're going to fasten off. So your decrease is going to be a 4 single crochet decrease. So that is it. You can fasten off. So you're going to need a sewing tail. So we put our eyes and our nose and our mouth on this guy. So it's a little difficult to do when it's not stuffed. So I put the eyes, counted from this end down, between the 3rd and 4th row. So I'm going to use these, which are, I think they're 11 mil. Oh, I could be wrong. They might be a little bit bigger than that. So between the 3rd and 4th row, so 1, 2, 3, and 4. Here, I'm going to make sure my thing's at the bottom actually. I'm going to go up this way. 1, 2, 3, 4. Between the 3rd and 4th row. And then I said 7 visible stitches in between. Which means if you can't see the stitch, don't count it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in between. So I'm going to put my other one here. Just make sure you're getting into the same row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to put my backs on. And then the nose. The nose I found, I did a couple of rows, so not counting the magic ring, 1 and 2. And then I tried to find a middle part that I could set that. I'm using pink for this one. Just make sure it's in the middle. Oh, that's not the right back for that. My back's too big. The mouth we can do after. So, you're wondering why it's so small. It's because it's just a muzzle, even though the eyes are attached to it. I want to see more of the head than anything. So, it's up to you what you want to do. If you want to partially stuff this and then finish stuffing it after you start sewing, then you can do it both ways. It all depends on what you're comfortable with. Just make sure that you stuff it so it's not quite out of shape. Like I mean this area. That's probably good enough for me until I get going. So you kind of want to sew it where there's a lot of headroom left. I went quite low. Now I am putting a bow on this, but I did go quite low. It's not easy to pin one of these on. I'm going to use my really long pin. So I'm going to sew part way around, and then I'm going to make sure my face is straight first. I'm going to sew part way around, and then I'm going to finish stuffing it. I go around twice when I sew on things like this. I first go around in both loops, and then I go back around just in the front loops only. You don't have to do all of that. I do it for safety reasons. And because I think it looks better coming back around through the front loops only, but this is my preference. It's certainly nothing that you have to do. I mean, nothing on my channel you have to do. So once you're done, you just come up here and do your weaving back and forth. So that's my guy. I might have pulled too tight over here. So he's super cute. I didn't do a very good sewing job. It's hard to sew onto velvet, but for me, but I'm not a sewer. So get some black and let's do the mouth. So I've got some of this sparkly black sitting here. I'm just gonna cut off a piece fairly long because I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with my mouth. The first one I did like a little crooked mouth on him. But that's because that's what I was feeling that day. I don't know what I'm feeling today. So it doesn't matter where you come in, it just matters where you come out. So let's try to do one of these regular mouths. So try to come up in the middle, somewhere underneath the nose. We'll do one of these animal mouths. Well, I'm not having much luck coming up in the middle. There we go. I don't know what this will look like, so leave some hanging out. And then, I don't know, pop straight down to wherever. And then wherever you want your mouth corner to be, that's where you pop out. And then we're going to go back down the same hole. And we're going to try to pop out evenly. 1, 2, 3, 4. Over on the other side. And then back down. And out, wherever. What do you think of that? I don't know. I think that's fine, I suppose. Yeah, I think that's fine. So we don't really need to weave, it's just a mouth. So push down, cut that off. I need to push down enough. I don't want to see any of that black. There. So now we can just start sewing stuff on. That's the fun part. So, let's do, those are my arms. And then we can make the bow after. So, these are the legs. And you're going to want to whip stitch the top. Let me get him out of the way. So you're going to want to whip stitch the top before they get sewn on, if you want. So we're just going to close it. So whip stitch generally is back loop to back loop. You can use the full stitch. I'm just going to use the full stitch. That guy's done. So just go ahead and you're going to do the same thing with the arms. So go ahead and just whip stitch all your all your things except for your tail. Don't do it to your tail. And then we already did the ears, so the ears are already done. So you just need to do your arms and legs, whip stitching them closed. Once you have enough stuffing, just make sure it's stuffed properly before you do that. So that's all my stuff. I'm going to sew my legs on first. Now I'm not here to teach how to sew because I suck. But figure out how you want him to be. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. So figure out how you want him to be. Whether you want him sitting like that, or just make sure he's back far enough that he can sit up on his own after the doll is built. I want my legs a little further apart, so I think I'm going to have him sitting like this. So to round it off, I go back it down into that corner, and I'm going to pop out over here. So when I pull, it kind of pulls that corner down. And then once I'm over here, I do the same thing to this corner. It's actually quite tight. And that kind of rounds it off a little bit, so it's not so square. That's what I like to do. You can do whatever you want. So, I also like to do the front because I hate when it flops over and it looks like that. I hate it. So, I like to do the front in a mattress stitch. So, I grab the top two, and then I come down here and grab some doll. I do two more pieces. And I grab two pieces on the doll. That's a mattress stitch. It's almost like grafting, but it's not. And then I can pull after. And then it tightens everything up, and it just makes it look 100 times better. So the arms are just as easy peasy, and I like to round off my corners on my arms as well. So right at the neck area, but if you're putting the bow that I'm making, if you're putting that on him, I would just kind of scooch down a little bit. So again, I like to come down in this corner and pop out just to pull it in so it's not so square. Do not sew under here because it will make your arm raise up and you won't get it to come back down. So I would advise against it. So I got my tail and my arms. And the ears get sewn on so that they're pointed down, not up. They gotta be pointed down. I would line it up with your eye before sewing it on. So anything that anybody tries going to a child, which I think mine are probably going to, they try to rip anything off, the other one's coming with it straight through the doll. So it's just makes it harder for it to actually get ripped off. So, oh my god, he's so super cute. Look at that. Okay, let's do the bow. Set him out of the way. I'm going to use this variegated velvet, and that's the same stuff I used for my last bow. Alright, let's get this bow tie going. You're going to chain 7, and you're going to do 6 single crochets back up. This is my 6th stitch. Chain 1, turn your work. So for the next 3 rows, I just want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 6 stitches. So I'm going to start decreasing a little bit. So I want you to do 2 single crochets. And then I want you to decrease these 2 together. So you don't have to worry about doing invisible or anything. You're going to SC2 tog these. That's how you're going to see it written. Which is single crochet 2 together. And it's just a decrease. And then 2 more single crochets. Chain 1, turn your work. We're going to do that again, but we're going to do 1 single crochet, and then we're going to SC2 tog these, and then we're going to do 2 single crochets. So at this point you should have 4 stitches. For the next 2 rows, I want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 4 stitches. Chain 1, turn your work. So we're going to increase now. So I want you to do 2 single crochets. In this next stitch I want you to put 2 single crochets in the same space. And then 1 single crochet to finish the row. Chain 1, turn your work. You're going to do 2 single crochets. This next stitch you're going to put 2 single crochets in the same space, and then 2 single crochets to finish the row. Chain 1, turn your work. For the next 7 rows, I want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 6 stitches. This is my 7th. Stuff is slippery. One thing about it that's a little annoying. I love working with it, but it's slippery. So we're going to start decreasing again. So I want you to do 2 single crochets. You're going to SE2 tog these two, so decrease right here and do 2 single crochets. Chain 1, turn your work. Then you're going to do 1 single crochet, decrease, and 2 single crochets. Chain 1, turn your work. So we're back down to 4 stitches. I want you for the next 2 rows to put 1 single crochet in these 4 stitches. Chain 1, turn your work. So we're going to increase. So I want you to do 2 single crochets, in this next stitch I want you to put 2 single crochets in the same space, and then 1 single crochet. To finish the row, chain 1, turn your work. First 2 stitches, 1 single crochet each. Next stitch, 2 single crochets in the same space, and then 1 single crochet each in the next 2 stitches to finish the row. Chain 1, turn your work. So for the next 4 rows, you're going to put 1 single crochet in each of these 6 stitches. There we go. So this looks like a bow tie, right? You can fasten off. You're going to need a little bit of a sewing tail. So you're going, well, what in the heck? I know. So fold this in half, and that's your bow. So the only thing we need to really do is just sew up this side. You don't need to sew all the way around because we're going to be making something that goes in the middle, and so it'll hold it. So it doesn't need to be sewn all the way around. These 2 ends, however, need to be sewn together. Before I do that, this is what I did on my last one. I tied my straggler with my my lead, and then I just tucked this guy away. You won't see it because this velvet is ridiculously forgiving. That's the best part about velvet. So I'm going to take my lead, and I just sewed up this end here. But save a little bit of your lead, because we're not going to be, what is the problem there? We're not going to be cutting this off. So I'm just going to do a little bit of a whip stitch. It won't even be noticeable. There we go. So let's set this aside for now and make our middle piece. We're going to chain 4 and do 3 single crochets back up. For 7 rows, you're just going to do 3 single crochets. This is my 7th row. So before we fasten off, make sure this is going to be tight around it, because you don't want it to fit it. You want it to squeeze it like that. So just make sure it's tight. Mine's going to be fine. So I need a sewing tail with this because I'm going to use part of this to go around the neck, as well as the other piece that I have on my bow already. So this guy here can get tucked away. It is so hard to thread velvet. Alright. So, just make sure it's straight. So, it's supposed to be tight. If it's not, you're going to have to take out some rows. Sew the ends together. Try not to go into the bow when you're sewing, because if you need to move this around, you certainly don't want to be attached to the bow. I'm going to make a small wee little knot right here. So when I sew this on, I'm sewing from here to sew it to him. So, move my thing over a little bit. So this guy, he just needs to scooch over to the middle. So I got my finger in here because I don't want to go all the way through. So just pop him up over here. So just try not to pull. Because it's velvet, you're never even going to see that. That's the best part of velvet, is it is so easy to work with. So, now that our bow is done, so the reason mine is cockeyed on my other guy is because he's got such a snout on him. But I think it's cute. You can put it in the middle if you want. I'll put this guy in the middle. And then I just tied him. So if you wanted to remove it later, I tied him tight. You don't need to. You could have it loose. So I just tied that tight. And I did leave stuff hanging at the back. So let me zoom out. And there's my guy. I think he's so cute. Oh, I love him. Anyway, that is it. Oh, I might have pulled too tight there. There we go. Thanks for joining me, guys. I'll see you in the next video.